Stocks turning around and finishing higher after today's meeting between President Obama and congressional leaders was postponed. Delta says it will be honoring those super low prices. U.S. gas prices are set to drop to their lowest level all year thanks to higher supply and lower demand. Sales of civilian and military drones worldwide will reach $89 billion during the next decade. Hello, I'm Saadia McConville in New York, reporting for Bloomberg TV India. Stocks advancing Monday after the International Monetary Fund raised its outlook for the U.S. economy. Now, it may seem counterintuitive that a strengthening economy would be bad for stocks, but those stimulus measures have really been fueling the market gains we've seen recently. Of course, not today, but any tapering is definitely something investors aren't happy about, and we're really seeing that displeasure with today's losses.
Why in a county like ours is this bill so important?
Well, obviously, Senator Cardin shared some of his experiences and what had happened in the previous election. Prince George's County and areas like the south side of Chicago, where I'm from, have large minority populations. We want to make sure that we're encouraging people to vote, not discouraging them.
Hiron's Wall of Hope is now at this fire station just down the street from Skyline School. You can see that it's inside. There's a sign here telling people that it's not available for public viewing today. But firefighters tell us that they plan to move it back outside later this week. Firefighters had to cut the chain link fence outside Skyline School into 4 large pieces before it was carefully moved by hand to the Tualatin Fire and Rescue Station 368. Kyron's parents say although the process of moving the wall was tough, they're thankful for the community support pouring in.
It's so wonderful for him. I don't know how else to put it. It's just it's absolutely wonderful. It's more than you can even put into words, I think.
To know that people care about your son that way, it makes you feel really good. It's a good thing.
And in a true show of that community spirit, Kyron's parents shared the work of carrying that wall a half-mile down Skyline Boulevard here to its new home. As for that section of missing fencing at the school, Kane Horman says he's responsible for replacing that. He'll have to do that before the kids come back to school next Tuesday. And as for the items people have been leaving behind, Kyron's parents tell us that they have a room full of stuffed animals just waiting for him when he returns home. Live near Skyline School, Saadia Van Winkle, K2 News.
City officials blame heavy rains for flooded basements along this northwest street, but residents tell us they don't buy it. They say they've weathered plenty of storms and never experienced damage like this.
89-year-old James Broadway realized water was pouring into his basement here on Reuben Avenue around 2 a.m. Monday morning. He put in calls to the city, but to no avail. Despite a heart problem, Broadway, who lives alone, attempted to sweep away the rushing water.
I'm pushing it over toward the pump.
That doesn't sound like a good idea for someone with a heart condition.
It wasn't. No. That's why I can hardly stand up now.
Broadway had a lifetime's worth of special items stored in his basement. Among his favorites, a now soaked record collection.
Well, I brought most of them up here, but I still have some down there. 45 and 33, those are old records, like when I was a young man.
Having lived in the house since 1980, Broadway has made it through his fair share of storms. He says he's never had damage like this.
Not from the rain, from the city, from backup. When they cleared when they cleared the stoppage out, they stopped bubbling out.
Broadway's neighbor says the city has added insult to injury with its slow response.
I'm already feeling bad, and then they didn't even call to see if anyone had come to tell me that someone would be coming. They've done nothing.
A city spokesman says crews are working overtime trying to address the many calls over flooded basements. He says when rainwater penetrates manholes and then sewer lines, backups like these occur. He suggests homeowners invest in toilet backflow valves to cut down on flood risk. Although that advice comes too late for Broadway, even a waterlogged basement can't dampen his spirits.
Right now I feel like I need me a drink of Color.
Now, both residents here do have flood insurance, but Wes tells us that she's certain that her policy's $10,000 maximum will not even begin to cover the damage to her home. Live in Northwest Baltimore, Saadia Van Winkle, ABC 2 News.
If presidents are political royalty, she's the journalistic equivalent, covering the White House longer than any other reporter in history. 89-year-old Helen Thomas still manages to inspire fear in the most powerful people in the world with just one simple question.
Why? I think that presidents and people in power should be always asked why.
Thomas has been at it since JFK's inauguration and hasn't spared a president since.
The president works for us. I pay them, you pay them. So who are they? They should be very much held accountable for what they do and what they say.
Although she's maintained a friendly rapport with several chief executives over the years, there was no love lost between Thomas and George W. Bush. After she pressed him on the Iraq War, he refused to call on her, revoking a privilege she had earned to ask a question at nearly every press conference since the Kennedy administration, as well as her tradition of ending briefings with the line, "Thank you, Mr. President." She doesn't care much about that, but she is unwavering in her conviction that the White House press corps failed to ask Bush the tough questions related to the war on terror.
Nobody wanted to rock the boat, and they didn't ask the questions. They really were in fear, I think, of afraid to be called un-American, unpatriotic. They let the country down. There's no question about that.
The only issue that gets Thomas more riled up than war is health care.
Where is their heart? What has happened to us? Every Western civilized nation has free medicine, has health care.
For someone who claims they don't easily get nervous, she says the escalating arguments surrounding the health reform debate are truly frightening.
I think it's one of the most dangerous atmospheres that I have ever experienced as long as I've been in Washington. A climate of hate.
Although Thomas promises she's not part of the so-called media love affair with President Obama, she does admit he's okay for a politician.
He doesn't walk on water for me, but I think his heart's in the right place. I think he's trying very hard. He's a very good person. And I think he has a certain amount of credibility. As much as maybe any president. They all dance around.
And if you're wondering, the answer is an unequivocal no. There will not be plans for a retirement party anytime soon.
I love my job. I mean, I think I'm so lucky, very lucky.